one of the most famous fighters of his generation, fighting in one of the famous stadiums in the world. Can you imagine being AJ right now? A lot of pressure too, though. Don't get it twisted. You've got to perform in front of 96,000 of your closest friends.
Mamma mia! Rosie, a social media sensation turned boxer, has turned the sport on its ear. This is incredible. And what must be going through this 27-year-old's mind, like so many members of his generation, dealing with mental health issues? Here we go!
The upcoming Jake Paul versus Anthony Joshua matchup has triggered intense debate among boxing professionals. Most experts believe Joshua would dominate due to his sheer size, power, and elite heavyweight pedigree. His Olympic background, world-level experience, and knockout track record give him a massive advantage over Paul. While Jake has shown improvement by defeating MMA fighters and fringe boxers, he has never faced a world-class heavyweight. Analysts argue that Paul's only slim chance would be an early surprise punch, but Joshua's discipline, jab, and ring IQ would likely shut that down. Many predict a one-sided Joshua stoppage within a few rounds. Though fans find the fight entertaining as a spectacle, professionals overwhelmingly expect Joshua to win with ease.
Nikisa, a few times on it. I mean, there's nothing to report to you that it's close, or, you know, there's a lot of hoops to jump through. Of course, AJ is exclusive to DAZN. We also work very closely with His Excellency, and although we have no contract with him, we're in talks for big fights next year, of course, Tyson Fury being one of them. So we'd definitely give him the respect of making sure that he was aware of the plan and, you know, part of that plan as well. But at the moment, you know, there's nothing major to report on that. Would we take the fight? Absolutely. I think Jake would be... I mean, my estimations of Jake Paul would go through the roof if he signed to fight Anthony Joshua, because I just can't believe in my mind that he would do something like that. I mean, Gervonta was a smart one because of his size. Like, you know, I think actually he would have had a lot of success against Jake Paul, but the size is a problem. But this would just be, you know, like if Jake Paul was to take the fight with AJ, you'd really have to maybe carry his balls in a wheelbarrow on the ring walk, you know, because AJ wouldn't mess around in there, you know. So it would be huge, but nothing, you know, to tell you it's...
Paul versus Anthony Joshua is now officially confirmed for December 19th, 2025 at the Casa Center in Miami, streaming worldwide on Netflix. This will not be an exhibition, it is a fully sanctioned professional heavyweight fight under Queensberry rules with 8 3-minute rounds and 10-ounce gloves. To reduce the size gap, Joshua has agreed to a contracted weight limit of 245 pounds, notably lighter than his usual fighting weight. With both men putting their professional records at stake, the fight carries real consequences. Knockouts are allowed, and the result will be fully official.
Happening, Jake Paul will face the two-time unified heavyweight world champion Anthony Joshua on Friday, December the 19th in Miami, Florida. It's going to be an 8-round fight with 3-minute rounds and 10-ounce gloves. It's Joshua's first fight since being knocked out by Daniel Dubois in September last year. Jake Paul won a unanimous decision against veteran Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. earlier this year. Well, Jake Paul said this: a professional heavyweight fight against an elite world champion in his prime. When I beat Anthony Joshua, every doubt disappears and no one can deny me the opportunity to fight for a world title. To all my haters, this is what you wanted. To the people of the United Kingdom.
The boxing community has reacted strongly to Jake Paul's decision to challenge Anthony Joshua. Many fans and analysts feel Paul is being overly ambitious, arguing that facing a seasoned, experienced heavyweight like Joshua is far beyond Paul's current level. They believe the matchup is unrealistic and reflects Paul's tendency to aim far above what his actual boxing skill set can handle.
Right, the real deal respond to me as I tweeted my thoughts about delusion, which again, I think is more about what Jake said about Anthony Joshua and what he'll do to him. That was the more delusional aspect of this. Amanda Serrano said, at Jake Paul is the truth. Funny, they say he's a fraud for wanting easy fights, then he asked for the toughest fights ever and they say he's nuts. Listen, he was scheduled to fight Canelo Gervonta And now he's calling out Joshua. Come on, who else is doing this? Oh crap, on second thought, he is out of his freaking mind. You're right. That was more of just Amanda backing her guy, you know what I'm saying? The co-founder of MVP. And
Dave Allen has issued a serious warning about the potential damage to Anthony Joshua's reputation if he accepts a fight with Jake Paul. Allen argues that even if Paul lands one clean punch, it could create unnecessary embarrassment and affect how Joshua is viewed in the boxing world. He believes the matchup is driven more by entertainment value than sporting merit. According to Allen, many traditional boxing fans would see the fight as a step backward, and Joshua could lose respect for agreeing to face a YouTuber-turned-boxer.
Lost to Tommy Fury. Anthony Joshua cannot box Jake Paul. Horrific. He's dangerous for one, and two, if Jake Paul even lands a glove on him, it just diminishes everything that he's achieved. Jake Paul won't last 2 minutes for me. Never mind Anthony Joshua. It's ridiculous. It's a joke.
If AJ does say yes to going in against Jake Paul, does he harm his legacy?
I would lose a bit of respect for him. I think a lot of boxing people would as well, to be honest. Why would he box him? 2-time heavyweight champion of the world, one of the best heavyweights the last 20 years, held British boxing on his back. People might say he deserves to box Jake Paul. But why though? Why would he do it?
Did you lose respect for him when he fought in Ngannou? Did you lose respect for Fury when he fought in Ngannou?
Ngannou's a serious fighting man. World champion in the mixed martial arts.
It's a worrying thing, potentially, the damage that AJ could do to Jake Paul.
He'll hurt him. Yeah, Jake Paul is a cruiserweight. You wouldn't put the Midlands area cruiserweight champion in with Anthony Joshua, so why would you put Jake Paul in there? Just because he's a superstar, whatever. I don't know what he does. What does he do? What is he?
A YouTuber.
It's just not worth it. He's got enough money as it is. Why risk all that for a few more quid? I don't like it. I hope it...
With the fight expected to be sanctioned officially, Roy Jones Jr. has openly dismissed the idea that Jake Paul could ever become a legitimate world champion. He argues that Paul has avoided facing truly battle-tested boxers and predicts that experienced, high-level fighters would defeat him convincingly. Jones admits that Paul might eventually receive a title shot, but only under carefully engineered circumstances. He remains highly skeptical that Paul has the ability to capture a real-world title.
Become a world champion? No. Why?
I think if they make him fight tough opponents, guys with experience, those guys will beat him. Now, if you catch somebody like myself at the end of their career, or somebody like Tyson, he caught at the end of their career, the chances are much higher. Because now it becomes more of a 50-50. You got a guy who's better than him, but the age factor. You understand me? And that's the only way to balance it for him to make it a 50-50 fight. Somebody who's on his level at the same age, those guys have too much experience. You understand me? So he's not going to beat those guys. But you find a guy who is past his prime, who has the mentality further than his, but past the prime, it kind of even.
Anthony Joshua's promoter, Eddie Hearn, has been blunt about Jake Paul's skill level, calling him an average boxer. Hearn repeatedly questions whether Paul is capable of competing anywhere near the top tier of the sport, especially against elite heavyweights like Joshua. While he acknowledges Paul's improvement over time, he insists that the gap between Paul and world-class fighters is enormous.
For the sport of boxing?
Yes, I know these guys. They're unbelievably bright. I mean, Logan, much brighter than Jake, in my opinion. But Jake's smart.
Okay.
We have our ups and downs. Yeah. I respect Jake. I actually respect him in a boxing sense as well. But we fell out because I told him he was average. That's actually a compliment. Like, to be an average fighter, coming to this kid who's 26, 27, decides to go into boxing. We had a conversation where he's actually telling me he's going to beat Canelo Alvarez. And I'm looking around for cameras. I'm thinking, am I mic?
Then Eddie Hearn also addressed Jake Paul's bold claims, including the statement that he could beat Canelo Alvarez. Hearn finds such comments ridiculous and believes Paul is massively overestimating his abilities. Although Paul has defeated former MMA fighters and lower-level boxers, the idea of challenging elite champions like Canelo or Joshua is viewed as unrealistic and even laughable by most boxing experts.
Then it looks like Anthony Joshua and Jake Paul might be in discussions to fight. They were both on a call to each other earlier, and the viral video went round of Jake Paul saying he would knock out Anthony Joshua. If I'm being completely honest, I think Jake Paul would actually be lucky to make it out alive, and I'm actually being dead serious. I think Jake Paul would be lucky to make it out of the ring with Anthony Joshua alive. Tyron Woodley literally had Jake Paul on skates and had Jake Paul panicking for his life. Imagine what Anthony Joshua would do. Look at what Joshua did to the last non-boxer he fought in France, in Ngannou. That is not going to end well for Jake Paul. But look, let's be real here. This fight should never happen. It's an absolute disgrace to the sport if it does. And yeah, there's got to be a lot of backlash if this actually happens, because it's actually probably worse to the sport of boxing than what Fury and Ngannou was when it came around, or, you know, yeah, or Mayweather McGregor.
Outspoken boxing analyst Simon Jordan has delivered a harsh warning to Jake Paul regarding his proposed fight with Anthony Joshua. Jordan argues that the matchup is an insult to the sport, claiming Paul lacks the legitimacy, skill, and experience required to face a heavyweight icon like Joshua. He believes the fight damages boxing's credibility, calling it a prime example of everything wrong with modern spectacle-driven matchups. Jordan insists Paul would be destroyed in such a fight and argues that it cheapens Joshua's legacy by turning a serious athlete into a participant in a commercial sideshow.